There is a day, about 10 years ago, when I asked a friend to hold a baby dinosaur robot upside down. It was this story called Below that I had ordered, and I was really excited about it because I've always loved the robots, and this one has really cool technical feature. It had motor, an infrared camera, and one of the things it had was tail sensor, so it knew what direction it was facing, and when you held it upside down, it would start to cry, and it thought this was super cool. So I was showing other friend. So we're watching the theoretical of robots struggle and cry out, and after a few seconds it started to bother me a little, and I said, okay, that's enough now, let's put him back down. And then I bet Robert to make it stop crying, and that was kind of a weird experience for me. For one thing, it wasn't the most maternal person at the time. All since then I've become a mother 9 months ago, and I've learned that babies also. But my response to this robot was also interesting because it knew exactly how his machine worked, and yet I still felt compelled to be kind to it. And that observation sparked a curiosity that I've spent the past decade pressing. Why did I confront this robot? And one of the things I discovered was that my treatment in this machine was more than just an awkward moment in my living room. That in the world where we're increasing and integrating robots into an insect like that might actually have combinations. Because the first thing that I discovered is is that it's not just me. In 2007, so the Washington Post reported that the United States military was testing this robot that defused landmines, and the way it worked was it was shaped like it walked around minefield on its leg, and every time it stepped on a mine, um, one of continue to other leg to blow up more mines, and the column the, and ending up calling it off because he says it's too inhumane to watch the damaged robot drag itself uh, along the minefield. Now, what would cause a hardened military officer and someone like myself to have this response to robots? Well, of course, we're primed by science fiction and really want to personify these things, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. It turns out that we're biology to and to movement in physical space that seems autonomous to us. So people will treat all sorts of robots like they're alive. These bomb disposal units get names. They get medals of honor. They've they've had funeral for them, consular, and research shows that we do this even with very simple, like room vacuum cleaner. Just a desk that roams around your floor to clean it, just to name to Roomba, and feel bad when get stuck on the couch. And we can designer robots and faces or movement. The people automatically associate with state of mind, and there an entire body of research called human robot interaction that really show how well this works. So for example, researchers at Stanford University start it makes people really comfortable when you ask them to touch a robot's private. So for this, but from many other studies, we know we know that people respond to the cues given by these lifelike machines, even if they know that they're not real. Now, we're headed to the world, a world where robots are everywhere. Robot, um, uh, Robotic technology is moving out from behind and entering workspace households, and this machine that can sense and make atomic decisions and learn enters into these shared spaces. I think that may be the best allocation our relationship with animals. Thousands of years ago, we started to domestic animals and we trained them for work and weaponry and companionship and thought history with treatment. So, some animals like tools like products and other animals with treatment with kindness, and we've given a place in society as our companions. I think it's possible and similar ways. And sure, animals are alive, robots are not. And it can tell you from working with that we're very far away from developing robots, but we feel for them, and that matters because if we're trying integrate robots into shares, we need to understand that people will treat them differently than other devices, and that in some cases, for example, the case of the soldier who becomes emotionally attached to the robot that they work with. That can be anything from efficient to dangerous. But in other cases, it can actually be useful to foster this emotional connection to robots. We're already seeing some great use cases. For example, comments to engage them that we haven't seen previously. Our robots working with teachers to engage kids in learning with new results, and is not just for kids. Early studies show that robots can help doctors and patients in healthcare setting. This is a part of baby cases. It used in nursing home with dementia patients. It's been around for a while. And I remember years ago being in a party and telling someone about this robot, and her response was, "Oh my gosh, that's horrible. I can't believe we're giving people robots instead of human gifts." And this is really common response, and I think it's absolutely correct, because that will be terrible. But in these cases, it's not what this robot replaces. What this robot replaces is animal therapy in contexts where we can't use real animals, but we can use robots, because people will consistently treat with them more like an animal than a device. The acknowledging this emotional connection can also help us anticipate, and these devices move into more intimate air people flies. For example, it's okay if your child teddy bear people request provide conversation. It's okay if your sex robot has compelling in-app purchases, because robot plus capitalism equal questions around consumer protection, privacy, and those aren't the only behavior that our behavior around this machine could matter. A few years after that first initial experience with this baby dinosaur robot, I did a workshop with my friend Hans Concert, and we took five of these baby dinosaurs. We gave them to five treatment of people, and we had them name them and play with them, interact with them up for about an hour, and then we unveiled a human and were told them to torture and kill robots. And this turned out be a little dramatic than we expected to be, because none of the participants would even so much as strike these people dinosaur robots. So we had to improve a little, and at some point we said, okay, you can save your team's robot if you destroy another team's robot. And even did the work. So finally we said, we're going to destroy all one of them. Then this guy stood up, and the whole room went as he brought on Robert's neck, and there was a half joking, half serious moment of silence in the room for this fallen robot. So, what it's really experiencing. Now, it wasn't a controlled study, but it did lead to some later research with Blushneedy, where we had people come into the lab and smash these textbooks that move around and really lifelike, we like insects. So instead of choosing something cute that people are more, we chose something more basic. And what we found was high empathy people would hesitate more hit. Now, this is just a little study. It's a body of larger body of research that starting to indicating that indication between people's tensions of empathy and their behavior around robots. But my question for coming era of human is not to be empathize with robots. It's a can robot change people empathy? Is there reasons to, for example, prevent your child from kicking a robot dog, not just out of respect for property, but because the child might be more likely to kick a real? And again, it's not kids. This is the violent video games question, but it's some completely because of this visual what that we respond and the image. Alhamdulillah. When we behave violent toward robots, specifically robots that are designed to mimic life, is that healthy outcome for violent behavior, or is that training our curating? We don't know. But the answer to these questions has a potential to impact human behavior. It has a potential to impact social norms. It has a potential to inspire rules around what we call with certain similar to our animals, because even if robots can feel, our behavior towards that might matter for us. And regardless of whether we end up, robots might be able to help us come to a new understanding of ourselves. Most of what I've learned over the past 10 years has not been about technology at all. It's been about human physiology and empathy and how we relate to others. Because when a child is a kind of a rainbow, when a soldier tries to save a robot on battlefield, or when a group of people refuses to harm robotic baby dinosaur, those robots aren't just motors and gears algorithms. They're reflections of our human humanity. Thank you.